Well, hi, and a very warm welcome. This template is from the SRMBOK library. It's an incident response and disaster recovery framework. So it's fully worked and it's editable in MS Word. As usual, we'd like to show you a video walkthrough so that you can jump in and pause it and see whatever you like. There's 34 pages in this altogether, fairly comprehensive from introduction, context, readiness, incident management. Then we have a run book for incident response and a run book for the disaster recovery framework, and then of course a form just to keep track of all that information. So briefly, what's inside, it starts out as you'd expect, scope and purpose, then looking at the context, trying to set up so you would adapt this for your particular instance, changing whatever you see, for example, critical servers, looking at your own context there, databases. Then you go through threat intelligence. This is really a framework for essentially incident response and disaster recovery, so you don't need much to tailor it. As you'll see, there's some areas that you might want to, though. So this looks at from an Australian perspective. No surprise there, you may want to change this. There's an element later on which goes back to NIST, but you'll find that it's fairly international with very little changes needed. So it works through, as you can see, management, what is an incident and so forth, communications and planning, talking about people and then contacts, stakeholders. Now I get through in page 15, we're looking at the IR runbook framework. So what is it? Template for incident response derived from recommendations given by the Australian Cybersecurity Centre, ACSC, and NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology in the US. So if you are in the UK or India or somewhere else, you would just change ACSC to be your respective organisation, or indeed if you are in a country where you don't have one, you could probably just simply stick with this exactly as it is. I talk through the NIST process here, so a little bit more detail in this area, saying what are the preparation steps, contact information, etc. Now, going through a range of areas, so prevention, risk assessments, host security, network security, malware prevention, etc. And then you start to get into more detailed, it's a sign of an incident, what does it look like, who do you notify, how do you notify, when will you notify. Gets into some really useful information around evidence gathering, the what, when, where, how in specific detail for cybersecurity, and then eradication. Going through, following that normal sort of sequence into recovery. And of course, this is the Australian example here, but you would just simply change these phone numbers to suit your own requirements. And again, there's a link there to reporting, again, for Australia. Next, Appendix D, disaster recovery, run book framework. So what do you do if you've had some sort of an incident, and how do you recover from it? How do you put your playbook into play? So dependencies, you can see this pretty well as well as I can. Pause at any point, and then you get through to the process, actionable information, etc. Looking at these sort of contexts gives you a framework to think about, authoritative, adaptable, comprehensive, compliant, and so forth, and you'll be able to get straight into that. So there's also a space in here for you to either document contact details in a separate template or give you the format you might want to use them in something that is separately filed away. And then there's the runbook form, essentially just recording sort of applications, what do you do about it, who did it, and how did all that work. And closing out with post-event on that last page. Well, thank you. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you find this useful. If so, please feel free to make use of it. Thanks.